Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm very well.
Good.
I'm in a different location.
I can tell. You sound quite loud and echoey. Like it's very.
It's like
Is it? Have you been kidnapped and put in a basement?
Yes. The police have been called and they're on the way. Hostage negotiation is taking place as we speak.
Yeah. Is your wife going to pay the ransom?
No.
That's what I wonder. No. That's obviously not going to happen, is it?
No. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up, where we look at everything to do with the London market, technology, change, innovation. And this week, we are going to take a look at a couple of things. Blueprint 2, there's been an update this week. And also, we're going to look at some stuff around offices and trading and face-to-face and that type of thing as well. As always, let's start with the news. And this, Ben, well, it was an update that I went to. It's a Blueprint 2 update on Monday, which had a really good turnout. I was there. But there has been a follow-up article in the Insider, which is, well, I think it's pretty honest, isn't it? But it's more of a kind of critical look at some of the kind of progress that has been made. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, we've asked some of the questions in here. Definitely, we've asked some of the questions. I think it's fair to say that probably the Insider has been quite careful in its tone around this, either because they're worried about what Lloyds might say or do, or because they wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. But I think this article is probably a little bit of a watershed in that they're not quite giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I'd argue it's actually quite critical. But it does come from a factual basis, and they have tried to answer the question that we have asked, which is, could we have a proper definitive timetable about things, and not a kind of shifting sands thing, which we not everything's been shifting sands, to be fair, but some of it feels like that. And so anyway, this is not us, this is not B&B, this is the Insider's take, which is where they really you can talk about what your take was as well, Jeremy, afterwards, which will be interesting. So the first thing was what was delivered on schedule this year. They list that the Data Council was fully set up, chaired by Sheila Cameron of the LMA. CDR approved, that's the core data record approved, led by the Data Council. Template and consultation launched on the new MRC. That's the digital MRC is the digital slip, isn't it? Basically, as I understand it. Faster claims payment service rolled out for DA business, which we've talked about. The payments in minutes and hours, was it? Or no, minutes and seconds and years.
Yes.
And eons. Anyway, whatever it is, whatever the strap line is, I can't remember it precisely. But I don't know. Anyway, so that's that one. And then global premium and claims service, including work on electronic back office transaction, electronic claims office transactions. Don't understand what that is. It just sounds like a lot of words and nothing specific. Then what has been delayed or amended? API specs for a new digital gateway postponed. I think APIs are quite important to all this, in my non-technical understanding of it. Proportional treaty system build postponed. No date. Usability improvements to DCOM affected by events in Ukraine, says. A data ingestion solution, which sounds absolutely horrible. Who wants that?
Yeah.
That's what you get at Christmas. I've got a data ingestion solution. The language is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
A data ingestion. Right, I can say this because I had to practice my dramatic articulation before this show. A data ingestion solution for DDM, now scrapped. So it's gone anyway. Never have to say it again.
Yeah.
A final release of the new MRC v3 pushed to Q1 2023. Accord CDR API specs. Right. Okay. So look, my God, what a lot of jargon. Who knows? Perhaps what's more relevant and telling about the Insurance Insider's article, which I think is really good, is quite sharp criticism, I suppose, of John, or pointing at John Neal. Neal has consistently said that the overall budget will fall within 300 million, but they're kind of worth noting that little information on the budget has been shared, even with the London market trade bodies. That's the question we've asked about before. Then they say this thing in the middle, but on track and on time, question mark, even in an era desensitized to corporate spin, this was a stretch.
Yeah.
And it's an objective fact that the ultimate timeline is not on track compared to what was published in January. Various things they've said. So timeline credibility. And it said it's also somewhat strange that Lloyd's included certain elements as delivered, in inverted commas, in 2022 when they didn't constitute actual solutions due to be used and were not mentioned as milestones in the January timeline. In other words, things that are deliverable, deliverables, but they would never been mentioned before and they just appeared. So
just like this Christmas tree.
Sorry?
Just like this Christmas tree.
Has that just appeared?
That's just appeared.
Was it there before?
No.
It's like a sort of, and I didn't even see anyone come in and do it.
No. Seamless.
That's a good thing. Right. Okay. So they do say that certain things seem to be gearing up. The tech providers Accord, AdvantageGo, DXC Technology, Trace, and Verisk, which together represent more than 80% of Lloyd's GWP, have pledged their support in September. Well, look, they would, wouldn't they? I mean, it's commercial gain for them. I mean, of course they'd support. What are they going to say? No, we don't support any of it. Load of rubbish. We're going to work somewhere else, do something else. That's not.
Yeah, vacuous.
Anyway. So it's basically, yeah, as it says, it's quite critical. People saying they simply have to get it right. So the article really is saying there's a lot of rhetoric. We're doubting the timelines, and there's some things that seem strange. Anyway, you went, so who cares about what the
I did. So
says?
let me give you my take on the event. So, firstly, it was a really well-run event. It was very slick, as you would imagine a Lloyd's event to be. I'll tell you what, there was a lot of people there. I think maybe 450, something like that. And a lot of people that I would call not the usual suspects. So, when I looked around the room, I saw a number of people that I knew who were supporting this, and ops people and tech people, but there must have been a whole bunch of people from across different businesses, and perhaps also consultants and vendors. I don't know. I didn't get to see the delegate list, but there was a wide cross-section in the audience, which I think is good. If you're going to get these big projects to work, then you've got to have support, not from just the tech and operations people. You've got to have it across things. So
it has got to be the right people, because if that's a bunch of people who, as you say, are all vendors or consultants, then that's all cost, isn't it?
Yeah.
To the project. I mean, it might be reasonable, but you're right. You want the people in the front line to be starting to go to these things, really.
Yeah. So I think that was good. I think in terms of the talks, there was an odd talk by a couple of people, but actually Bob James spoke really honestly, as he always does, and really openly about the challenges and the timeline. So I thought that was good, and carries on kind of that refreshing theme that we've seen since he's taken over the project almost a year ago now, and I'm sure we'll get an update at TinTech London Market. The bit I think that fell over for me was they build it as a panel discussion, but they didn't actually take any questions from the audience. So it was actually it was quite contrived, and you could feel people shuffling around in the seats, kind of going, "Where are we going with this?" So and then the feeling afterwards was a little bit about the sentiment of this article. You know, that everybody gets behind the sentiment and kind of almost the vision. You know, there's no problem with that. You know, everyone gets it. It's about how are we going to execute on it? How are we going to deliver it? The devil is in the detail. Or what do we need to do? You know, so it's not so much people were going, "Oh no, I don't believe this. We shouldn't do it." People were going, "Can you just tell me what are the implications for me and my organization, and what do we need to do in order to get ready?" So, and it was kind of positive in that sense, but.
But it's how long can it last, and how long can that positive feeling last? But also, I think, which is reasonable, is we've been here before. So rhetoric is worrying, because if it is rhetoric, and also your point about the panel is interesting. Why aren't they prepared to take questions? You know, it's a controlled thing. I think that people start to get worried about are we backing the right horse? Is there any point in being part of this still? Because if they turn around now and say, as the article says here, it's not 2024 anymore, it's 2025, then this starts to fall apart, and it starts to be something that has to be picked up by the big carriers completely, and maybe things like whatever it is, SQL 6 or SQL 9 or whatever it is, and all that. You know, that's where you start to move to, and you say, well, it's never going to happen. You know, and quite a few sort of, I guess, you know, kind of concerning comments coming back as well that people were saying. So I think the Insider is picking up a bit on your sense of, sounds good, but come on, we've been doing this for a long time now. Is there a deliverable here?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that'll be a really good challenge to put to Bob and the team, you know, in February, to say, okay, you had your update in December. What's happened in the intervening couple of months, and can we see some kind of progress? Because and the problem is, you go, well, yeah, but it's only a couple of months. But a couple of months turns into 6 months, turns into a year, turns into 2 years, and you know, you've got to build momentum. So that'll be a interesting topic and question to ask the team in February, that's for sure.
Oh, I think so. I think it's coming to the point at which you've got to look at sort of mid next year. There's got to be something coming out of all of this, really, hasn't there? There's got to be less talk, more deliverables.
Yeah. Very good. Right, thanks for picking that up, Ben. So I saw kind of this on LinkedIn, and it's about the underwriting room. We've talked about the underwriting room during lockdown quite a lot. We kind of questioned its relevance and whether it will kind of ever come back to the good old days. And this I saw on, that's a few articles. So I saw something on LinkedIn, which was, why don't you come to the underwriting room on yesterday, and you get a free cup of tea or coffee and a mince pie, and you can do business. Now, I originally thought it was just a post from somebody, and this is actually just a kind of repost, but basically just saying, wasn't it wonderful to see so many people in the underwriting room? And I was going, that's great, and I liked it. But then I saw that it was kind of a bit contrived. There's something behind it, like this push to get people back in, and with this little tile here, we believe, Tizers believes in the room. And I was just like, well, there's a couple of things that just like pinged in my head. Like, why are they doing that? What are they worried about? Who made that tile? You know, and how to push out. It's just interesting to ask the question. And also, we've just been talking about digitization of the London market and the progress that has been made or not made But actually within individual organizations, the pandemic and the push towards digital and using technology in a different way to trade, it is really interesting. And then you've got this kind of reversion back to, the underwriting room. And you got the comments in there, people supporting it, going, it's great to see. And I kind of just wanted to ask you, Ben, what's your take on it? I remember we talked about...
I don't buy all this. I find this ridiculous, to be honest. I find it's fine, but it's looking back, and I know everybody, this market does nostalgia very well, obviously, but I think there's nothing wrong with doing this. I would not complain at anybody doing it, and it's good to get back in the room. But let's get real, right? This market has got to do something about growth. It's got to do something about its cost base. It's got to do something about digital. This is, as you kind of rightly say, Jeremy, it's like, well, what is the point and why are we doing this? It's like you develop a brand and you develop a proposition and you say, this is what it is. And then actually the proposition is sort of going back over something that doesn't seem to be happening. I can guarantee you go there today, it'll be empty, right? That's one thing. So at a tactical level, does this work? Does this really get people back in? It's the tactical nature of it that I don't like. This isn't a strategy. If this was like, we are going to all be back in the room 3 days a week, and this is how it affects the market, and this is how it goes, but it's not. It's just like, oh, we like being in the room, we like doing face to face. Well, I'll tell you what, you can do face to face, and people do face to face in all the offices, in all the beautiful buildings in EC3. But this is also conflating two things, which is, do people like getting together in a big building in EC3? Yes, they do. I get that. That doesn't have to be a trading experience necessarily. It could be a networking stroke, relationship building thing. But what are they saying? Are they saying we're going to go back to the box and use the box all the time, or not? I mean, do it or don't do it. But don't pretend it's something that's great and we're all going to be doing it, and everybody everybody writes a thing about how brilliant it is and puts an exclamation mark at the end. I'm sure it's lovely, but it isn't about what this market should be about in lots of ways. It should be about real push. I mean, even Chris is asking here, packed underwriting room full of how congratulations, Jason Collins, how do we keep this going? Well, he doesn't know whether they want to keep it going. Nor does Chris, to be fair. Chris, I'm not being rude about it, Chris doesn't know what the carriers want to do. The carriers have set up all sorts of beautiful, expensive things that do work really well, and brokers do business in offices, and they have done for a long time, pre-pandemic. So anyway, I think it's I tell you what, it's sort of whimsical. Yeah, let's do it every year as a nice thing to do, to remember when we used to trade at the box and all meet up just before Christmas. Brilliant, very nice, very lovely. But let's not pretend this is something about the future of this market, of a modern insurance market, and it's going to compete. That's going to compete all the other hubs in the world.
And I agree with you, because face to face is important, but I think you're right. I think people are confusing the two things. Go back to the underwriting room with doing deals face to face, whatever. I work in live events. I passionately believe that face to face is the way that you solve complex problems. You make innovative decisions better face to face, and creativity thrives when people are face to face. However, I don't say therefore you need to come to this meeting room in Ludlow, because that's the only place it will do it. It happens.
Well, and also, these things do have a logic to them. So if you say, by saying this, what are you saying? You're saying, actually, the rest of the time we're not in the room.
Yeah,
we've been one day in the room in the last 2 years. 3 or 4 years actually. So therefore, you are focusing on the fact that the room is not used. So if you do this, you've got to be absolutely nailed on certain this is going to go somewhere, to some sort of end positive thing for the market. And I don't think they're doing that. Therefore, it's whimsy in my view. And I would, suggest that we ought to be careful about these sorts of things.
I've got a jingle for that, Ben. Explosive.
Yes, quite right.
Bang after bang.
Well,
there you go.
Let's just get thinking.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's talk about something else, Ben. What do you want to talk about now?
Well, we can talk about, if you like, the stuff that we were doing on the office spaces and things before the pandemic, and why people like those spaces and things, because I think it's just a bit of a lead on from this, because we've got the room, right? Okay, so the room, and I'll show some data that we had about the room. So this is all sorts of things, and brokers commenting on different quite nice spaces, broking floors, trading floors, they're called quite often, but it's modern Brighton area, and the view of the Thames is impressive. Newest and most feng shui, touchy-feely ambience and mood lights. The service there. No, I'm asking you to think of Lloyd's at the same time as this. Okay, the service there was incredible. The staff look after you. It's like being in a hotel. It's clean. It's got fresh flowers. They're innovative. They have music and quirky decorations. It's like going into a trendy cafe. People can guess what these places are. They've got Atari video games. It's like a club you'd go to in Shoreditch, and they've got M&M dispensers, charming, and coffee made by the gods. This is brilliant, right? Because this is people enjoying the space. This is energy. This is brand takeout. This is people enjoying it and loving those office spaces. And I have to say, what some of the insurers have done with their trading spaces is brilliant. And I wish more people would go to those as well, actually, and they should do, because that's where a lot of business and relationships are done, and that's where a lot of brand takeout happens. It does not happen with Lloyd's, as I've shown you. We can prove that. So if you go to the next one, this is a bit more sort of harder data, but similar sort of things. And just to say that over the years, actually, the visits to the box had been declining massively before we got to the pandemic. Clearly, they fell off a cliff through the pandemic, but they've been just going massively. Now, these are the in order of the office service experience, the OSE as we called it, our index, and we'll be doing this again, delivering another of these in January, because we haven't been able to do it for a few years. But the top is the Leadenhall cheese grater. It was at the time with Emma Samlin and Brit in there. So they get nearly a 9 out of 10 for ambiance, service, facilities, 86 out of 100. Whereas Lime Street, Lloyd's, 76, moved a bit, but 7.5, 7.6, distinctly average compared to these places. 20 Fenn's good, 21 Lombard Street, which is Access's office. So all of these places matter to people, and they are important trading spaces that are being used now and still there. And on top of this now, of course, we've got 22 Bishopsgate with Hiscox and Beasley and other big tech companies in it, which is also rather lovely. So Lloyd's has got competition.
Yeah.
And I don't get why you therefore also, on the logic thing, why you're also saying we'll forget all these offices, all this development, all this stuff here, and go into the box as well. Because the efficiency of Lloyd's is about the smallish stuff and doing the small deals, clearing them all up in a wash across the market. It is efficient. I know brokers like that in lots of ways. Big deals are done in the offices. They're done in the offices. They're not done in the Lloyd's building. It's not private. And brokers have got to know that they get not just a nice cup of coffee, but they get to meet other people, they get to do business, they get to trade, they get to see some stuff in those offices that they don't see in the Lloyd's building. This is the future.
Yeah. Interesting stats there, Ben. I like them a lot. Okay.
They're good, aren't they? I mean, they're good. I mean, it's like real people really talking about what they like to do. And that's why I'm saying stop doing things that you think are important just because you think it's important. Yeah, I mean, people went back. That was good. But it's because they could have a beer after.
Yeah. Interesting to do it on a Thursday rather than a Friday. Let's talk a bit about AI.
We love AI.
We do. We did AI last week, didn't we? We did big. We went big. We went on AI last week. But you saw this, and this is piqued our interest, hasn't it?
I mean, it's happening. I'm noticing it more and more because I've got interested in it. This is called ChatGPT. It's a new type of AI. It's not based on just web searches, Google searches. It's based on neural networks.
We love a neural network.
We love a neural network. We don't actually know what a neural network is, but we love a neural network. So it's even the person explaining this, when I heard it, was saying it's quite difficult to explain, and I think she'd invented it. So this is, I've signed up for this. Anybody can sign up for it, and it you can ask it questions.
What's it called?
It's called, you get it from something called OpenAI, but if you just put ChatGPT and you can sign up, you go through a couple of sign-ups, and then you can start asking it questions. And it's a bit like a kind of, I mean, what I didn't use it for long. I tried it, but it was quite good at the kind of Wikipedia type of searchy stuff, and it gives you quite succinct answers on things. So on things like, I'll just give you, it's not shown here, but I think I've got one on the underwriting thing. Oh, maybe I haven't got it. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So I asked, explain Lloyd's of London in simple terms. Lloyd's of London is a British insurance market that allows underwriters and brokers to offer insurance coverage to businesses and individuals. It's known for providing coverage for unique or high-risk items such as ships, art, and space travel. Lloyd's is not an insurance company itself, but rather a marketplace where insurance policies are bought and sold. Perfect description, and it's right there for anybody just getting into this and working it. I then said, will England win the 2022 World Cup? I'm sorry, I'm not able to browse the internet and therefore do not have access to current information about the World Cup. My training only goes up to 2021, so I'm not able to provide accurate information about events that may have occurred after that time. Fair enough. Yeah. And then I asked, is Jeremy Burgess good at his job?
Let's look at focusing on this.
And it says, I'm sorry, I do not have any information about a person named Jeremy Burgess. As a large language model trained by OpenAI, my knowledge is based solely on the text that I've been trained on. And I do not have any personal information about individuals. Damn!
Do you know who I am?
So I was just trying out a few things, but it's quite good. I mean, it's quite useful, potentially. I can see its uses. But it is, they make the point about it that this is another step on in this whole fast accelerating world of AI. And what interests me about it partly is that it's the experimentation and the playing around with all this stuff rather than the kind of hyperbole you get around things like blockchain, or did around blockchain and things like that, which is going to solve the world's problems. Yeah. A lot of these people in this space are very good, and they say, look, it's not going to solve the world's problems, but we are going to keep on trying to have a go at it, trying new things, because it's kind of, even if it's just useful at a basic level, it's quite good.
Yeah.
So this sort of stuff here in our market could easily be used in sort of claims MI, risk placing, or whatever. Just say we can't do that risk, or we can do that risk, or please contact so and so. Dead easy, I think, to use this sort of stuff, and it would speed up a lot of the desperately problematic amount of administration that everybody does, you know, and that causes the cost issue in the market. So I think it's very, very interesting, and I think insurance should get more involved with it.
Yeah, I do as well, actually, because if you think about all the policy documents and the wordings, I mean, we do London market claims every year, and quite often we have Paul Wordley coming along from a legal perspective, just talking about some of the challenges, and they often arise from, you know, unclear wording or stuff that has just been copied and pasted for the last 25 years and is no longer relevant and all that kind of stuff. You would have thought this type of technology would be really helpful in getting to the bottom of some of those challenges and trying to sort them out relatively quickly.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's accessible now to, you know, to everybody. People can start to use it, so it will learn quickly. So that's how they're doing it. They also put it out, and then it learns more and more, and it gets better.
Yeah, cool.
That's the theory, anyway.
Like it. Okay, good. What else are we going to cover? Are we going to? Have we done everything? I think we've
done everything. You're going to talk about TinTech, and then
I am going to talk about. I just didn't.
And then next week's show.
Oh yeah, that's right. So so I just wanted to give a shout out to TinTech because the agenda was released last week. So people are booking onto that. Got a whole lot of stuff around tech and innovation and change, and lots of great people coming along. So if you'd like to come along, check out the website and you'll see all the details there. Anyway, we'll do a proper preview of that in the new year, as we would always do. Now, let's preview next week, Ben, because it's our Christmas special. We've already got an amazing tree. Yeah, just arrived. But we're going to have some guests. So we've interviewed some people to try and get their highlights and what they're looking forward to next year. So that'll be good. So that's a bit of a treat for everybody. Get a bit of insight from other people rather than just us. We're going to do a little roundup of our, what are we calling them? Movers and shakers. Great people and
people of the year.
People
of the year.
Yeah, of the year. So a little awards thing.
Yeah. People of the year.
And then I've got a quiz for you, Ben.
Good.
So there we are. That's what we're doing next week.
Well, I've got my AI ready for that.
Yeah, brilliant. You can just ask it. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, we could see if it gives us the right answers to things. Yeah, but it might. Yeah, we'll give it a go. Yeah, I always enjoy the quiz. And,
yeah.
I'd be interested because the people we've asked questions of about are quite good, aren't they? They're quite good.
Yeah, you've got a nice bunch of people.
Interesting bunch of people. Yeah.
Indeed. Right, very good. It was a quick one this week because I'm off-site in Ludlow. It's a beautiful day today. Absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
very cold.
Looks good, actually. Looks good. Yeah, is it cold there?
Yeah, very bitter.
Yeah.
So, there we are. Good. So right. I am. What am I doing this weekend? I am in Ludlow. Then I'm going back home to see my mum and dad for a bit, watching the football, obviously.
Yeah.
How do we go? Whole show. Angleterre.
Yeah, that'll be good. I am going to watch football. I think I might. Having not been out on my bike for a few months, I think I decided the best time to go out is when it's -6 and
really
totally unfit. What a great idea.
You be careful.
Oh yeah, I will definitely.
Very good. Right. Thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week for the Christmas special. Have a good weekend.
Bye. Have a good one.